Welcome to the Empowering Women in Real Estate educational series. This little digital course, is all about how to vacation in real estate. I am going to walk you through my process that I have used and really kind of perfected over the past 19 years. And I know it's going to work really well for you as well. So what's a real vacation? When you're in real estate, I think there's that feeling that we don't really get a real vacation. You never get to unplug. It's 24/7. People are calling you. There's no boundaries or hours, and it can be really hard, or it feels really hard to get away because we worry. We worry that we're going to leave, we're going to go on vacation, and our clients are going to call someone else, or they're going to work with someone else, or we're going to lose business. And so we have this feeling that we need to just keep going. And it's really not realistic, because what will happen over time is you will absolutely burn out. And I don't want that to happen to you. It has absolutely happened to me. It is very possible to have a real, mostly unplugged vacation, even while you are actively working with your real estate business, even when you are actively working with many clients. Throughout my career, I've regularly averaged working with 50 to 60 clients per year, mostly listings, really high volume. And I have still managed to do these vacations every year. After my first year in business, and I've told this story before, you may have heard it, I allowed a extended family vacation to get completely ruined by a client. I was really worried. I didn't have a lot of opportunities. I was really worried that I was going to lose this client. I was going to lose this buyer. We left late so that I could accommodate some showings. I spent the whole time on the phone, on the computer. We came back early because I wanted to be able to accommodate more showings, and they ended up never buying anything, at least not in our area anyway. And so I really learned from that experience. I ruined the extended family vacation for more than just myself and my husband, but for our entire families. And so I didn't want that to happen again. I knew there had to be a better way. And so I started developing this process that would allow me to, in the beginning, it was just 1 week. I would do 1 week a year where I would really kind of unplug. And over time, the more I did it, the more I tweaked it, the more I realized what worked, the more I realized what didn't work. My process got better and my system got better. And over time, I take multiple weeks of vacation a year. And to my knowledge, I've never lost any business because of it. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to walk you through my process for exactly what I do, what I have learned, what works to actually really get away and have a mostly unplugged vacation where you can really relax and enjoy. This system, also, I have used a version of this system for my maternity leaves. I've had 3 kids in my 19 years that I've been in business. And I've also used it for surgery and recovery time. So once you learn this system and once you figure out how to do this, you'll be able to replicate this and do this again and again, depending on what you're dealing with in your life at the time. So here's your first step. And this is really the key. This is the most important step of this process, which is you need to figure out your coverage. You need to identify your coverage, because you can't be away and trying to pretend. I know many agents, and I'm sure if you've been around for a while, you've probably experienced this too, right? You're desperately trying to get a hold of a listing agent because your buyer's interested in their property and they don't return your calls, and it takes forever to get a response. And you realize when you're talking to them that, oh, they're on vacation. Well, how is that? That's not really serving anybody. And I know agents who try to do this. They try to pretend that they're not away. But the truth is, it's going to show. It's going to show up one way or another, and it's not fair to you, and it's not fair to your family. So you need to have that coverage. You need to have that person who is here, who is where your business is, who is kind of your point person, or as I say, your air traffic controller, like the person who is directing what's happening. This does not have to be, especially if your business is very busy, it can feel overwhelming to kind of dump all of that onto one person. But you need one person who is directing. That doesn't mean that they're handling everything for you. And if you're that busy, then you probably, or you should, have an assistant anyway who can help with this process. But you need that one person who is the point person. You need the one person who people can reach out to and say, I'd like to show this. I'd like to view this home, or I want to write an offer on this, or, we're going to submit an offer on your listing. You need that one person who can kind of direct all of those things. So you need to figure out who that person is going to be. And through my career, that person has changed. It could be, and for me, for many years, it was an agent that I traded vacations with. It was an agent that we used to trade maternity leaves with each other. So she would cover for me when I was away, and I would cover for her when she was away. And we didn't have to exchange money. I would let her take leads. I would give her any leads that came in on my listings while I was gone. I retained anything that was a listing or a repeat client or that kind of thing. But that was what we did, and I did it for years, many, many years, and that absolutely worked for me. She was my main point of contact. If there was more to do than she could handle, then she would identify someone. She would find somebody in our office who could handle a showing as needed while I was away. Something else that you can do, something that my next step beyond that, is having an assistant who's the one who takes the calls and returns the calls and answers the questions. And if you have transactions in process, a lot of what's happening might be stuff that's related to your transactions. So obviously they can handle those things. If it's showings, if it's offers, then have a little pool of agents, people that they can reach out to for help. And this feels daunting, especially if you don't feel very connected to the people in your office, but building these relationships are so key and so critical. And so if you don't have those people that you feel comfortable with, then reach out to your managing broker, because they I'm sure know other agents in your office who are feeling these same things, who's going to need that same support. And so when you can trade that support off, I mean, unless you're going away for a month, chances are you're gone for a week, right? So you can find someone who can be that person for you, who can kind of trade things back and forth. So you need that one person who can direct, even if they're not going to handle everything for you, that they can direct people back and forth, who's the point person. That's super critical and important. And what if you don't have an assistant? What if you don't have that person? Maybe if you're newer in business, well, maybe there's a new agent in your office who would love some extra experience by being able to do this for you. Or could you hire somebody just temporarily for your trip? What you need is, you really need somebody who is attentive, somebody who is responsible, and somebody who has a really strong customer service skill and strong customer service drive. Somebody who is going to return the call promptly, somebody who is going to respond to the email promptly, somebody who is going to get the answers that are needed. That could be a friend of yours, maybe a stay-at-home mom who's home with the kids during the summer, who could do this for you for a week. So think outside of the box. The really wonderful thing about our business is we get to design it the way that we want. And so you can really think creatively about how you want to handle this. And there's a million different ways. Don't get stuck into thinking it has to be one person in your office, or if you're not on a team, you can't do this. I wasn't on a team for years and I did this. So you can absolutely make this happen. So figure out what that's going to look like. This is really the hardest part. I don't care if your trip is next month or 6 months from now. You want to start thinking about this now, and you want to start identifying this person now. This is the relationship that you want to build so that you can kind of figure out what that's going to be. Or if you're going to have that one point person who's maybe not licensed, and start thinking about who are a few other agents who can provide some of that backup help with showings or managing contracts or things like that. You're going to understand more what you need based on where you are in your business, and if you have a lot going on or not. Okay, next step. And so, identifying your coverage, that you're going to do in advance, that's got to have some prep. You're going to have to do that well in advance. But now all the rest of this is all happening like right before you go. So notifying your clients. You need to notify everyone that you are actively working with. If it's an active seller, if it's an active buyer, you want to notify anybody who is currently under contract with you, whether again, a buyer or a seller. You want to notify people who have just been casually looking. Anybody that you have been having those casual conversations with, or every now and then they message you about a listing, you want to let them all know. Because where we run into trouble with this is when you don't notify people and you don't let them know. People just want to know what to expect. And if you establish expectations, 99% of the time, they're going to follow exactly the expectations that you set and the process that you set. So you need to let all of these people know, because when you don't let them know and they call and they get your message, or they hear that you're on vacation, or they see on your social media that you're on vacation. I don't hide when I'm away, because I've told everybody. So that's when you can run into trouble, because they think, oh, I don't want to bother her, or I don't want to bother her person. So, I'm just going to call this listing agent, or I'm just going to stop at this open house. And then you can see how that can quickly spiral out of control. And before you know it, they're writing an offer with somebody because they didn't want to bother you. So it's so important to notify everyone. And then the really important part about that is you have to clearly state exactly what the person who's covering for you, what they can do for you. So I would reach out. For me personally, what I would do is I would send an email. I would do that email the day before I left. So basically my last day in the office before my vacation. And I would let them know, and I would copy whoever my point person was. And I would say, I'm away. I'm leaving tomorrow for vacation. I will be back on this date. So-and-so is copied here. This is their number. They're going to be covering for me. While I'm away, they can write offers for you. They can present offers on your listings. They can gather feedback, like list out the actual things that that person can do. And if you have an unlicensed person who's your point person, then you can say, Susie, it's going to help to ensure that any offers that you receive are going to be presented by, one of my trusted colleagues or something like that. But just make sure that you kind of list out all the things that can happen while you're away, so that the client realizes, oh, look, like we're not really necessarily having to miss a beat, because everything's going to be taken care of while she's away. And then to eliminate any confusion, as I mentioned, I wait to send out that message until literally my last day in the office, because if you let them know, you send out that message a week in advance, well, they forget, and the whole week they think you're gone, and then they're confused and they don't know when you've been away, because it's not their job to keep track of your schedule, right? So I let them know basically the day I leave, or the day before I leave. But in any conversations I'm having with my clients in, like the week before or a couple weeks before, when there's a right time to come up, I'll just say, oh, you know what, I'm going to be on vacation in a couple of weeks. Just want to let you know, by the way, I'm going to have a great coverage for you. You're not going to miss anything. Right before I leave, I'm going to send out a message so you're going to know who to contact. So we're not going to miss a beat. So that's all they care about. They just want to know that they're going to be taken care of and how they're going to be taken care of. So you just need to clearly state that. My preference is to do that via email. I can do that carbon copy then to the person who's covering me. I can provide the contact information. And then often what I would do is the person who was covering for me would then reply, just to kind of get that dialogue going, to the person and say, so happy to be covering for Karen while she's away. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you need help. So just kind of get that dialogue going. And this is really helpful. Okay, step 3 now, and this is really the one that kind of takes, depending on how much business you have happening at the moment, this one takes a lot of time. And this is prepping your while I'm away message, because you need to make sure, the key to ensuring that you're not having to get involved in everything while you're gone, which is the whole goal of having coverage and getting on vacation and having a break with your family, is the person who's covering for you needs to know what's happening. So you need to give them all the details for that person who's sort of your air traffic controller, and let them know what's happening. Now, if I am using that unlicensed person, and I have a couple of colleagues who have said that, yes, we'll be available to handle showings, or we'll be available to present a contract, I will copy them on this message as well, just so everybody's in the loop. But really, this is primarily for your point person who's covering for you. So I do one long email. It's titled While I'm Away, and I break down in that email all of the things that are happening. So I break down my stuff that's under contract. I break down my active buyers. I break down my active listings. And then I'll have, kind of like other, people that you might hear from, or things that might come up, or people that I hear from every now and then. So basically all of those people that you notified that you're going to be gone, you want to make sure that they're addressed in this while I'm away message to your point person. So I include a little breakdown for each person. Their name, their phone number, they're already going to have the email because you copied them on that notification email. And then I will include the address for their listing, if it's a listing, or if they're somebody who's under contract, I'll include the address of what's under contract. And then I give a quick summary, like the person covering for you doesn't want to know the past 6 months, or need to know the past 6 months of history that you've had with this client. Give them the quick summary of where they are. We're currently looking for properties. I have a search for them automatically set up. When something comes on that meets their criteria, they're going to need to go and see it. Or we're currently listed on the market. we're expecting, this number of showings this coming weekend. A rent back is really important to my sellers. This person has asked to be notified if any offers come in because their buyer is considering it. So any kind of pertinent details like that. If it's a listing, I would often include any specific instructions. This house is vacant, or this one is occupied. It's really important that they make sure that they have 3 hours notice because they have dogs, or whatever. But I give a quick summary of the kind of current status and pertinent details about that transaction, about that person. And then it's really important that you also point out any specific deadlines or things that might come up while you're away that they're going to need to cover. Is a settlement happening and you want them to attend settlement, or you want them to drop off the settlement gift? Is a home inspection contingency coming up? Is the appraisal going to be happening while you're away? Like, let them know of pertinent things that might happen while you're gone. And then if there's something that is super time sensitive, super time specific, that's going to happen while you're gone, I always make sure that I highlight or bold or put those at the top of the message so that those don't get missed, the really important, pertinent things that have to happen. Usually if we're planning in advance, we can really kind of schedule those things around when we're back. But if not, you want to make sure that the person who's covering for you is really aware that these are the really key responsibilities that they have to take care of. Okay, step 4, and I know a lot of people avoid this because they don't want to tell people, they don't want to announce to the world that they're gone. But worse, here's what's worse. Worse is you don't let people know that you're out of the office. You don't change your outgoing voicemail message. Somebody leaves you a message. You're out on the beach with your family. You're out on a boat. You're at the lake. You don't have cell coverage. And 8 hours go by before you notice that they've called. Well, that's really when somebody's going to call somebody else, because there's no expectation. They have no idea what's going on. They just assume that you're too busy for them, or you're not interested because you're not getting back to them. If you let them know, I'm away, here's who to reach out to, this is the person who can help you, then it's going to be okay, because they know what to expect and they know that they're taken care of. So I always set up an email autoresponder, and I also change my outgoing voicemail message. The message is essentially the same on both, which is basically, I'm out of the office until this date. Please reach out to so-and-so at this number for assistance until I return. Now, something that you can do if you have a lot of business going on and you've got maybe more than one person who's going to be covering for you, that's what I do now. I typically have more than one person who's going to be, maybe this person's going to be returning calls, but this person would be, handling any listing appointments or whatever. Then I will say my client care team. Please reach out to my client care team at this number for assistance until I return. That's it. Keep it simple. Another thing that you want to do is you want to set up a keyboard shortcut for texting, because you can get the automatic responder for your email. You've got your outgoing voicemail message, but when a text message comes in, you don't necessarily have, you're gonna have to respond to that, or the text is just gonna get completely ignored. And you don't want that to happen, because you want your client to know that they're taken care of. So I set up a keyboard shortcut. I actually use these for a ton of different things on my phone beyond just my vacation out of office notification. On an iPhone, now if you don't have an iPhone, I'm sorry, I don't know exactly how to do this. I have heard that you can, so you're gonna probably need to do some Googling to figure this out. But on an iPhone, you go to the settings, you go to general, you go to keyboard, and then you go to text replacement. So it's gonna ask you for a phrase, and the phrase that you want, this is what I say, mine says, I am out of the office until this date, please contact this person at this phone number, and that's it. Then you're gonna enter your shortcut. Now the shortcut are the keys, the letters that you're gonna type in order to auto-populate that message. You don't have to type out the whole thing every single time. So for me, I use the letters VC. The first time I did this, I made a mistake and I used the letters VAC, right? Short for vacation. Well, the problem is every time I typed VAC, even if I was typing the word vacation or vacuum, it auto-populated my out of office message. So you want to make sure that the letters that you are using are not things that are a word or part of a word, or it's going to pop up every time you're doing something. So I use VC. So then that way it's very quick. So when I'm out with my family, I'm at the beach, I'm wherever I am, and I see a text message just come through, I just quickly type VC, hit enter, hit send, and now that message is going to populate, and then my client or whoever is reaching out to me is going to reach out to my office. And so that way I can make sure that people are taken care of. Okay, really important, what I have found is having some kind of a check-in plan really is going to help to make sure that things don't get missed. And it's really going to help to make sure that when you get back, you're not going to be welcomed back to like an overwhelming amount of things. So my routine, anytime that I am away on vacation or anytime that I am out of the office, is once or twice per day. So for me, it's typically first thing in the morning, I'm having my coffee. My kids are usually asleep at that time anyway, so I'm not really missing anything. And then maybe later in the afternoon when we're taking a break, I check my voicemails and I check my emails. And any message that I get that requires something or needs help, or an email that I get where somebody's asking a question or needs something, don't take for granted that they have reached out to your coverage person, because sometimes people will think, oh, I don't want to bother them, I'll just wait until she's back. So I want to make sure that my people are really well taken care of. So I always make sure that I forward those messages. You can forward the voicemail on your phone. I forward the emails. I make sure that I forward them to the person who is my point person who is covering, so that way, in case that person didn't reach out, they can proactively reach out and make sure that they're taken care of. I'll also do the same thing with text messages. If somebody has texted me and I'm going to send them back that auto-populated text response, I take a quick screenshot and I send it to the person who's covering for me. So again, we can really make sure that nothing is going to get dropped. My clients are going to feel really well taken care of. Really important. Resist the urge to respond, because you're going to have this urge. We're going to talk about this again here in a minute, but you don't want to, the minute you start, you're in that loop and it's hard to get out of it. So all you're doing is forwarding. It is rare. I can think of probably only a handful of times that I have been on vacation and I have gotten involved and called a client or spoken to someone while I was away, because it's really very well handled by the people who are covering for me. So it's a really unusual situation when I've had to get involved, but typically just resist that urge and don't do it. Trust your plan. Okay. You also may want to have, depending on what's going on with your business, a regular check-in with the person who is covering for me. So I remember specifically one year when I had the first time I had an assistant and she was covering for me. Now she was licensed, but she was very newly licensed. So definitely needed a lot of support with what was being done. We had a plan and I would basically check in with her every morning. So, and this doesn't have to take a lot of time. One check-in call in the morning, I could answer any questions that came up. I could make sure that, she knew what was going on. And then I could kind of move on with my day. She felt really comfortable with what was happening. And that just kind of helped. It helped me to feel good that my clients were being well taken care of and my business was being well served. And it also helped to keep her from feeling completely overwhelmed. So depending on where you are in your business, depending on how much business you have happening, that's something that you might want to build into your check-in plan while you're on vacation, whether it's once a day or every other day. This doesn't have to take a lot of time. I would maybe spend 30, maybe 45 minutes doing this quick check-in between scanning the emails and reaching out to my point person, and then I'm done. And then I'm really engaged with my family and I'm really kind of unplugged for the rest of the day. Okay, step number 6 is to relax. It's hard. It's hard for a lot of us, especially if we're business owners and we're entrepreneurs. And so we're driven and we're excited about our businesses. And so sometimes it can be really hard to pull back. Following a plan like this, I'll be honest, it takes discipline. It takes discipline, but it's important and it's worth it, because you need this time. You need this break. I can tell you with complete honesty that when I come back from a vacation, and I can usually tell how badly I've needed it, because within a day or two of being gone, I will start to be flooded with ideas and I start getting excited about my business again. And you need that. You need to recharge. If you don't take that time, then it becomes drudgery and it becomes overwhelming and you will start to burn out. And so this time is so important. It's important for you. It's so important for your family, but it's also really, really important for your business, because you're going to need this period of refreshment, maybe even more than you think you do. So resist that urge to respond to the quick questions, right? You see the text message come through and it's something quick that you could answer, but you know what? Here's the problem. The minute you do it, then it says to that person, oh, you know what? I know she's on vacation, but I guess it doesn't matter. I guess she's okay responding. And they're going to keep reaching out to you. So you have to resist that urge to give that quick response, and you need to send your out of office response. You need to forward it to the person who's covering for you. Sometimes if it's a quick question, then what I will do is I'll screenshot that. I'll text it to the person who's covering for me and I'll say, can you let them know, here's the answer. But I don't engage with the client because the only person I'm engaging with is the person who's my point person who's covering for me. That is the only person I am engaging with, and they are managing the rest. If you respond to that email, if you respond to that text message, if you return that real quick voicemail, it's going to turn into more and more and more because they think, oh, she doesn't mind. She doesn't mind being reached out to. And then what's going to happen is you start to feel really obligated to respond. So please resist that urge to do that. And this is why we do this, is you have a plan in place. This is your plan. Trust your plan because it works. Okay. Step 7, re-entry, which is always a little hard. Re-entry is stressful. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've come back from vacation and I've kind of regretted being gone because you're overwhelmed with all the things you got to unpack. That there's laundry, you need food for your house, and then you've got people who were reaching out to you, and there's stuff that you got to catch up on. And I remember one year I came back from vacation and I had 1,000 emails in my inbox. So here are some things to do that can help you with your re-entry to make it a little bit easier. So whenever possible, do not schedule any appointments for your first day back because you're really going to need that time to catch up. You're going to need that time to have a download meeting with your coverage person. I usually do that for my first morning back because I want to really get up to speed with everything that's happened while I was away. You want to reach out to all of your clients and let them know, hey, I'm back. I heard from so-and-so, this is what happened while I was gone. Really excited to be back and re-engaging with you and blah, blah, blah. So you want to make sure that you have time to follow up with your clients and follow up with all of those people and let them know that you're gone. You also want to have time because hopefully while you were gone, maybe you got some new leads, you got some new referrals. And so you're going to need to handle that. And you're going to need to address those things. And so you're going to need some time to do it. If you come back from vacation and you immediately hit the ground running with a day full of appointments, you are going to be so stressed out because you haven't addressed any of that stuff. You want to make sure that you switch your outgoing voicemail message. There's nothing worse than calling somebody and their message says that they're out of the office, but that was like 3 months ago. So you want to make sure that you switch your message back to normal, which always feels a little sad when you get back and you have to do that. And then you want to make sure that your email autoresponders are off. Now mine connect through Gmail. And so I actually am able to set the last day. So I don't have to go back and manually turn mine off. But depending on how you set yours, you may have to go back and turn them off. So make sure you check on that. And then clear out that email as quickly as possible, which I'm going to give you a tip on in a second. But you want to get it cleared out so that you don't start getting super overwhelmed as you're kind of getting back to normal and the normal influx of work is coming back to you. So here's some of my, sort of pro tips, if you will, that I have learned over the last 19 years that I've incorporated as I've gone. So one of my favorite things is I leave a day earlier than I actually leave. And having that day at home when everybody thinks I'm gone and they all think I'm on vacation, but I actually have an uninterrupted day is like, it's priceless. And it gives me a chance. Sometimes I catch up on work projects. Sometimes I catch up on some things that I really haven't had time to deal with. And so I will use that time for that. I also will use that time to prep for my trip because usually I'm so busy. I mean, I don't know if you're like me, the week before vacation, I have this drive to get everything done. And the day before I leave, it's like every project that's been on my to-do list ever, I feel this strong urge that I have to get finished. So this gives me a chance to kind of get things done. And I'm so busy working that I don't prep for my trip. And then actually getting out the door is stressful because I haven't packed, I haven't prepped, I don't know what to take. And so having that day in advance, if you can do it, really helps to give you a chance to catch up, get prepped, start pack, and then it gives you a chance to just kind of relax. Because you know what happens, when you're on vacation, sometimes it takes a couple days to really just kind of like get in that vacation mindset and get in that groove and just like let your guard down and relax. And so then before you know it, you've used part of your trip just trying to get relaxed. And the next thing you know, you got like a day or two and then you got to go back. So having that day in advance is really super important if you can make that happen. The other thing that I have learned to do, and this is pretty much almost a non-negotiable for me. It's rare when I don't do this. And when I don't do it, I regret it every single time. And that is to do the same thing with your return. So come back a day earlier than what you tell everyone that you do. So typically for me, I will come back from my vacation on a Saturday, but I don't say I'm back to work until Monday. So then that gives me one full day at home to get unpacked and do laundry and get the groceries and kind of just do all of the stuff that you have to do just to kind of make your re-entry a little bit easier. This is super helpful to do this. One other thing that I learned, so back, that trip that I had many years ago when I came back and I had 1,000 emails in my inbox. So what I've learned to do is when I do that daily email check, when I'm checking in to see if anything's come in and I make sure I forward it to my point person, is I will take an extra minute and I will delete the junk mail. So I scan my inbox every morning. And anything that somebody needs something or needs to be addressed when I get back, I forward it to the person covering just to make sure they got it. And then I move it into a folder that's called to do after vacation. So then that way it doesn't get missed. It's over there. It's ready for me when I get back. I can keep my inbox clean, and then I delete the junk. And it only takes me a few minutes to do this each day, but it saves me so much time when I get back from my trip. So that is something that I have learned to do that is super, super helpful to me. And then as much as possible, can you prep before you return? So my family typically will go places and rent accommodations where we have like an efficiency, where we have like a kitchen and we have laundry. And so I will do a lot of our laundry before we come back. So that way, when we get back, it's maybe just one little small bag of laundry and I'm unpacking clean clothes, or the kids can unpack their clean clothes. And so that makes things easier. I will order a grocery order while I'm away. So I will get my order ready and then have it. Don't get grocery delivery really where I live, but I can schedule my order for me to pick up the day after we get back. So it just makes things a whole lot easier. I'll maybe think ahead to plan out a couple of meals for the first few days after we're back. And so that doesn't take very long. It's easy to do it while I'm away. And then it makes things so much simpler when I get back. Okay, now what if you are having a baby and you're going on maternity leave, or what if you're having surgery, or you have a family member who's having a surgery and you need to take some kind of a medical leave, or you need some recovery time, which I've had all of that. So this is the same process that I use when I'm doing those types of things also. So a couple of things. If this is a maternity leave, if you're having a baby, as soon as you start showing, and you all know that kind of awkward time, as soon as you start showing, I start telling my clients, because here's what happens. It becomes the elephant in the room. And people are unfortunately inherently selfish. And what they care about is of course they care about you and they're excited for you, but they don't want to bother you. And they also want to make sure that they're taken care of. So you have to let them know that there's a plan. So as soon as I was visibly showing, anytime I would go on appointments with someone for the first appointment, a first listing appointment, or meeting a buyer for the first time, I would say, hey, by the way, you may have noticed I'm going to have a baby. I'm due in this time. And just so you know, I just want you to know, your transaction will probably be done by then, but I just want you to know that I do have a coverage plan. And so you will be, if I'm on maternity leave when you're wrapping up or whatever, you will be really well taken care of, and that will come in time. So, so I just kind of get that out there, and it helps them to relax, and it takes care of the elephant in the room. And so I've done that every time I've had a maternity leave. I've done that whenever I've had a surgery and recovery time. And it just works. With the maternity leaves, the closer you get to your due date, you might want to consider having your coverage person join you on appointments if it's a new listing appointment or a new buyer appointment. That is something that I have done before. I remember one time going on a listing appointment like literally a week before I was due. And so I took my coverage person with me. I mentioned that and brought it up immediately at the beginning of the presentation. Hey, by the way, you may have noticed, I'm due next week, but I have a plan. So if you're ready to go on the market before, or you're on the market while I'm gone, this is so-and-so, and she's going to really take great care of you until I get back. So all they care, and I got that listing. And I remember being actually at the hospital in labor, and I was texting with the person who's covering for me because they wanted to sign that day. And so she took care of everything for me. So, so you just need to kind of get that out there and let everybody know that you have a plan, and maybe have your coverage person join you for some of those kind of last appointments to make sure your clients know that they're going to be well taken care of. Something I've done both with coming back from surgery and recoveries and coming back from maternity leaves, is having a phased return. So I have a certain chunk of time, and there is no right or wrong. You decide what is right for you and your life and your business. I have a certain chunk of time when I am not available. And I'm my only contact, same as vacation, my only contact is my point person, if I'm having any contact with anybody at all. But then I kind of phase in. And then the next phase is I will have a certain period of time where I'm not going out on appointments, but I will start taking calls and responding to messages and responding to emails. So I'm getting involved, but I'm getting involved from home, and I'm not actually going out and meeting people. And then the next step after that is getting back into appointments. And so, especially, if you're coming back from a surgery or you're coming back from having a baby, it can be hard to jump right back into your full schedule. So I would ease back in. I would, take a certain number of appointments, take a few appointments, others would be covered by my coverage person. I would do that for a little bit of time, maybe a week or two. It just depends on you and what your situation is before I get back to full time. And that approach I have found to be most helpful. Really, it's helpful for me, and I know that my folks are being well taken care of. And then anytime that you are doing a medical leave or recovery, it's a very personal decision, but you might want to consider whether or not you want to be upfront about what's going on. I always have been. I live in a small town. A lot of my business is handled, is here. I do a lot of geographic farming. A lot of my business comes from here. So people know things, right? Or they may see it on social media, or your kids might mention something to somebody. And so I don't hide it. This is what's going on. And when I've had situations where I've had a major surgery and I've had some recovery time, I've often done a post about it, and I'll say something to the effect of, but you know what, my business doesn't stop, and your referrals are even more important to me than ever. And while I'm away, my wonderful team or my wonderful client care team or my wonderful whatever is going to be taking care of all of my clients. So if you need any help, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to help you. And that has worked beautifully. Okay, so I hope that this has been really helpful to you. I hope this has been eye-opening to you. Start small. Start with one trip this year. Start with one long weekend. This is so possible. This is doable. It is doable to have a real vacation where you're not working, but just at a different location. So you can do this. Follow these steps, and I promise you that it will work. If you would like to continue working with me, I would love to continue working with you. And the best way to do that is through my Empower Coaching Program, which is a monthly membership program where I offer group coaching and marketing systems specifically for women in real estate. There is so much that we offer, from our group coaching sessions to our weekly quick lessons to a private mastermind community to ready to print, post, and use postcard templates, social media graphics. Anything that you need for your marketing plan is done for you. Also, these courses, these Empowering Women in Real Estate educational series courses, are also free for our Empower Coaching members. So Empower Coaching is only $59 per month. There are no time commitments or contracts. And so you are able to cancel at any time with no hard feelings if you find that it doesn't work for you. So if you're curious or you want to learn more, go to empoweringwomeninrealestate.com and click on coaching. And I hope that this has been really helpful to you. And I look forward to you having a restful and relaxing vacation this season.